Hi everyone, Stefan Karl here. Not in focus, still not in focus, it seems, and I like that. You're gonna understand. I mean, normally I would love to be in focus, but it really goes with this card that I'm not allowed to be in focus. Instead, this little girl, and also there is a kid behind me, seem to want to be in focus, and that's King of Spades for me. Today it's King of Spades. You're gonna understand in a while what these kids have to do with King of Spades. It's like an omen, really, what this is all about. We know King of Spades as a tough card. It's a feared card, I would say, even when we find it on a year spread. Those of you who read cards and year spreads, you know that in that part of life, ruled by that planet and so on, there is going to be a permanent change, and it's going to be tough. Okay, so we know it as a tough card. But you know, it's a lot like Saturn. Many people fear Saturn, feeling that Saturn is taking something away from them. Well, you know, Saturn takes things away from you because you are ready for something else. You know, if you don't give up something, you're not going to discover what's behind. So King of Spades is a feared card. It's a tough card, but actually it's quite the opposite. It's I would even argue and say it's like the gate to moksha. It's to liberation. It's the gate to dharma, and it's the gateway to happiness, more than any other card. And what is moksha, what is dharma, what is happiness? Most of you would know, but moksha is liberation, right? This idea from, well, Google moksha. But dharma is such an important word here. Dharma is our true nature, you know, where we really run with who we are supposed to be. And that equals happiness, right? We cannot be happy until we dare to accept ourselves fully. So it's also self-acceptance, actually. When we fully accept ourselves, we do our dharma. We start doing our dharma, and that is going to lead to happiness. And that's what you're going to discover in this spread, King of Spades. I have it here. Let's see, in the corner. It has a great potential for happiness. Doesn't mean that every King of Spades person is a happy person, but many of them are, and they have possibly the greatest capacity for happiness, as you would expect. You know, after a long, dark night that crushes you, wow, the morning that arrives, it's wonderful. I mean, the clearest mythological example, and a very obvious one, is the most famous chapter in Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, where the young hero Arjuna doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to take part in the war because he has interest. He has his emotionally invested on both sides. Teachers, friends, and relatives on both sides, in both armies. So whichever army he chooses, he will have to fight towards friends and even relatives, cousins maybe, I don't know. And so he's really tormented. And then Krishna comes down. Most of you, or many of you, would know this, but for those who don't, he will come down, and he tells him to fight anyway, because you know it's your dharma. You are a kshatriya, you are a warrior, and it's your dharma. A man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. So he doesn't give shit, popularly speaking, about the objections of Arjuna. And but he's not only like punishing him or taking something away from him, he also offers something wonderful. He offers him to drive, or he declares that he is going to drive his car, his chart, right? Now, we identify Krishna with Vishnu in most cases. But in this case, he carries more of Shiva. He's more Shiva-like, right? And there is so I'm not a scholar, but also I'm not inventing the idea that actually we're talking about Shiva energy here. Shiva is the destroyer, right? The destructive energy, rather than Vishnu that upholds life. But in this episode we can see how they are related, because first there is destruction, that is Shiva, and then wow, life comes out. Just as when you burn the ground, and shortly after there are going to be flowers everywhere, right? That's exactly what happens in the King of Spades spread. You would expect a very harsh and abrasive person, but far from it. Oftentimes they are extremely sweet and nice persons. And I should know, since I'm married to a King of Spades, and my my former wife, we were never married, but we had 2 kids together and lived together for 14 years. She's a King of Spades too. So even if it's a very rare card, with only formally 1 day a year, January 1st, it's actually... And then it actually seems to rule half of December 31 too, so it's 1 day and a half. From 7 o'clock-ish on New Year's Eve until January 2nd, around 7 o'clock in the morning. That's King of Spades energy. The only day and a half in the year, okay? Anyway, so both my wives were born with this card, and I know it quite well. And therefore I dare to say they can be very sweet, very funny people who really... basically, Krishna rules their card, you know. He rules the car, he drives their card. And that's what this is all about. That is doing Dharma. Right? When you stop being pretentious in any way, when you give up arrogance and victimhood, even victimhood is pretentious. It's or guilt it's pretension, you know. It's mind. Those are mind games. And as Arjuna, he had this perfect reason for not to fight. You know, I don't want to kill my people that are dear to me. That's like the best reason. And yet, he weren't allowed to go with that. He wasn't allowed to go with that reason. He had to fight because it's his dharma. Okay. Yogananda, the example that Ernst Willem often speaks about, he wanted to go to the Himalayas and be a monk, sit there and meditate, and pray for the world. And his fate, his dharma, told something else. He had to go to the United States. He didn't speak English at first, and he really didn't want to do that and deal with difficult people, difficult Westerners, and a lot of difficult fake spiritual people, I'm sure, and buying and selling land, worldly stuff. I mean, can you imagine something more humble that wanting to give your life away, being a monk, meditating the rest of your life? It seems that he's chosen what he wanted to do was a very humble path, But no, there is another degree of humbleness. He was humbled by life, who obliged him to make what he didn't want to do. So that's how King of Spades work. And we have to overcome. I mean, Arjuna is the best example, think that you swear that this is the right thing to do. Some people say that Dharma is to follow the rules. Well, it's not. It's following your nature. It's being authentic. Now, how do you know what's your Dharma, right? Some people are psychic, so they would know. Some people have a very strong, very balanced intuition, so they would know. But most of us choose wrongly, you know. We swear that I should do this and I should not do this, you know. I should forgive my siblings for this and this. Fuck, you shouldn't. No. I mean, yeah, maybe, if it's your dharma. I mean, it's always healthy for you. It's healthy for you to forgive, but it's not, I mean, it's not a duty in any way. The only duty is to follow dharma. And what happens when you do that, when we overcome our ego and let go of every stupid or not, you know, idea that we have. I'm a vegan, it's the right thing to do. Yeah, maybe, if it's your dharma, and if you're doing it for the right reason. Or maybe you should be a butcher in this life, you know, and then it's not the right thing to do to be a vegan. So how do we know if we do the right thing, if we do our dharma? And this is deeply connected to King of Spades, in case you think that I'm a stroll here, because this spread shows that it's such a happy spread, you know, because that happens when you overcome your ego, or rather you survive, you know, having your ego crushed. Someone says King of Spades is burning away your limitations, and that is very true. I like that first, but then I thought King of Spades, burning away your limitation. The problem is, it sounds like such a cool thing to do. Like, I am sitting here, I'm burning away my limitation. That's not how it works, you know. Arjuna really didn't want to fight, but life obliged him to fight. And don't get hung up on the very masculine, warlike language in that myth, because the war is a metaphor for action, you know. But actually, the whole myth is feminine. The whole idea is feminine. Arjuna wants to do what he wants to do to impose himself. That's masculine. And Krishna comes in and said, no, you are going to receive order. You're taking orders from me, from Krishna, or from life, or from Shiva. In that moment, he was Shiva. He actually presents himself. Krishna presents himself as Shiva in chapter 10, verse 23. If those are chapters and verse, I don't have the right name for them, right? He says, among Sudras, category of gods, I am. He doesn't say Shiva. He uses a synonym for Shiva. I don't remember right now. Okay, but he identifies himself as Shiva. Okay, so it's correct to see, I believe, not being a scholar, to see Shiva, the destructive force here in this myth about Arjuna, right? So Krishna / Shiva says, you mean receive orders from me, and that's feminine, to receive, right? First, every mother knows, to become a mother you have to receive the seed. That's feminine. And then Mars is an indication. The masculine planet Mars is an indication for motherhood. Then you start giving, and that's masculine. And it's exactly the same here. First you have to be crushed, and then you can start giving, right? First you have to be receptive. You have to be put in place by life, by King of Spades, and then something wonderful shows up. But if you don't accept being put in place, you are going to do all the wrong things, or you are going to do the right things for the wrong reasons, from your mind or from your wounds, in a compensatory way. And doing the right thing for the wrong reason, it doesn't serve us, right? So, this is like in my home country in Sweden, where the winters are severe and the cattle spend most of winters in a stable, all the winter, half of the year in a stable. And then in May, when the grass has grown a little strong, a little big, there is this one day, and people will, come from the city and migrate on to the farms, because there is this spectacle, where they open the barn doors or the stable doors, and the cows come, running out, jumping and dancing and being really happy. And we even have a special verb for that, the action of dancing if you are a cow or a calf, shesa. And that's exactly what this spread shows. That when we go through, the hour, the darkest hour is the closest. You have an expression for that in English, like the darkest hour is the closest to daybreak, something like it, right? I don't remember exactly the phrase, and that's what's seen in this spread. So at the end of the day, moksha, liberation, if we use that term, to be able to leave this realm someday, we have to be really at peace with everything. So at the end of the day, it's about self-acceptance, and stop judging God for why do people suffer. Well, they suffer because in an earlier lifetime they made something bad to a person, and now they have to, and it's not punishment, it's just that everything has to be in balance. Isn't that logical? If you have a minus on your account, or a plus on the, let's say, bad account, then you have to have a minus. You have to pay for it, and it's not punishment. It's just about evening out everything. There can't be any rests left. And then, when we are completely content, but there is no excitation and no joyful happy. It's a Ernst often speaks about this emotion, about a tranquil acceptance, self-acceptance, acceptance of everything. When we really, really stop judging life. Why do children have to die in cancer? And why do this country has to attack this country? It's not up to us. Can you see? It's Krishna's call. And yes, I'm speaking about King of Spades, and we're going to see it in the spread. But that's one reason why I think King of Spades is such an important spread, is because it really shows us how this works. It doesn't mean that you're going to be, in a worldly meaning, necessarily successful, Maybe you have this revelation when you're dying in cancer. Actually, we're going to see this in the next spread. I'm going to speak about this girl in American Got Talent, who was an Ace of Heart, which is the next card, the next spread. She was dying in cancer when she wrote her great song, and she couldn't fulfill the competition. But and the song says it's okay, It's okay dying in cancer. She was happy when she was happy dying, Ace of Spades are capable of that. Probably King of Spades too. Ace of Hearts. But maybe you save someone's life, and not because you want to be a hero, because it flows out of you naturally. And you die really, really happily. Or maybe you want to be a musician. Your dharma is to be a musician, but you're too old and you haven't practiced, and you're not going to be a very good musician, but you do it anyway. So there will be happiness, but not necessarily. Oftentimes it pulls in money and health and good relationships. I guess in most cases, but not always, So one way of knowing how we do the right thing, if we don't have I left that thread earlier, right? Is to see, is Krishna actually running your chart? How well are you doing? How happy are you? Have you flow in your life? When there is flow, it's a good sign that probably you're doing your dharma as you should, as we all should, always. It's the only thing we should do, right? That is, again, follow our true nature, even if it breaks some law oftentimes, right? And then sometimes it's about actually sticking to law, because maybe we have this law that says I should break all the laws, patriarchy or anything is limiting me, or this religious system is limiting me. I should break all the laws. Well, maybe that's the law that you're supposed to break. Maybe you should be really stick to the law, Maybe that's your dharma, much like Yogananda, who wasn't allowed to go away and be a holy man in the mountain. He had to dedicate himself to worldly stuff, basically. Another way of knowing is if there are good omens. So, always pay attention, observe. Is there a bumblebee showing up? Is there... personally I love animal omens. But all kind of omens, that's a way of knowing if we do the Dharma. Okay, so that's the theme of King of Spades, and now let's have a look at the spread. I prefer to keep it here because sometimes it just disappears, and then I keep speaking to an empty screen. So I want to be seen here in the background. No, actually, I don't have to. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So King of Spades, it's a king, meaning that there is a connection to the number 13. Since there are 13, it's the last card of 13 in that suit, right? So we can start with that piece of information, or we should maybe comment what a king is. Kings are about sacrifice and focus. So there is a very harsh energy to this, for sure. I mean, when Krishna comes down and tells us, leave everything there, everything you believe that you are, just forget. You are not that person, you are not that thing. Forget about it. I'm going to show you something else, That's what Krishna, or Shiva in this case. I mean, not Shiva, but in Krishna's form. Anyway, that's what Shiva teaches us. And then this is what he's going to show us. So anyone who is going through an ego-crushing period gains from looking at this spread. Okay, because this is like the card who says your ego is going to be crushed, right? So it's also the experience. Like, if you are a truth seeker, by all means, look at the 5 of clubs spread, because in that sense of the card, you are, even if you're born in another card, as a truth seeker, you are a 5 of clubs. This is the truth-seeking card. I'm not going into that now. But so you can look at any birth card from that perspective, that thing in your life, because it tells you how to act and what to expect. So if you're going through, you have to let go of a relationship. Well, then read the spread from 7 of Hearts, and it's going to teach you what to expect and how you should behave, right? And what's coming out of that experience of giving up love, or giving up a relationship, accepting the loss of a dear person, basically death. Okay, 7 of Hearts teaches us about that. But in this case, King of Spades is about to teach us about what happens when we accept. We speak about how having our ego kill and burning through limitation. It sounds so harsh. Actually, it's not. It's about letting go. Okay, it's surrender. I am no one. I have no idea. I have been convinced. I have been so right for such a long time. and it just makes me miserable. I'm tired of being right. Please, Shiva, please, life, please, King of Spades, tell me. Okay, so it shouldn't be a hard experience. Actually, it tends to be because of the ego, who doesn't want to disappear, right? So it tends to be a tough struggle. It shouldn't be. So there is an incredible sweetness to this. As I said, I'm not going to speak much about myself, but I have to. I've been living with King of Spades at my side for 20 years, 2 different women. And they are really fun people, and I'm going to show that now. Okay, but first a card. 13. Yeah, king. We spoke about being a king. King is a double energy, so it's about, they start out as tyrant, and little as life works on them, they realize that there is no point being a tyrant. I am not Krishna, I am not Shiva, I am the servant, right? I am Arjuna, who has to receive orders from the real king, which is God or Shiva, or whatever you call it. So it takes time, but after 45 or so, King of Spades is going to give up a lot of their idea, a lot about their ego, and they're going to be servants. But probably not before, like Rahu, Saturn maturation, there it starts somewhat, and then when they go through these 3 states, 36, 42, and 48 year, that's where they become good kings, servant kings, right? They are very much helped by the number 13, which is related to the 13th card, and that is Pluto, the Pluto card, which is the ego-bashing card, right? So, 9 of Spades. There will be ego-bashing, but as Ernst says, the 9 on the Pluto position, it's just sweet. They have an easy time. They have a natural knack for having their ego bashed. It doesn't mean that all King of Spades become wonderful people, but they are surely invited to be the most wonderful people that you can ever believe. Their invitation is there, and some of them will be just sheer sweetness. I'm going to show you. It has the great potential for being very, very sweet. And having this, when we surrender, we flip over to the female side of our psyche, and we start receiving. So it's a feminine experience, actually. Then it's a Spades, so it's about grit, about endurance, about self-reliance, and everything that you can imagine. I mean, that's what Spades is about. The little tree, or the tree, the person, the individual who wants to survive. So those things: identity, authenticity, everything connected to just us, how we are, right? Fire element. Then it's a 7, it's an 8, and a 9, like all kings. They are both 7, 8, and 9 at the same time. So as 7, they're good at dealing with stuff. As 8, they are on top of time, basically. It's like when I'm ready to do it and at my terms. That's 8 of Spades. 8 of Spades is a tree who has just a few green branches left, so it has to be, it's dying, but it still has life, so it has to be very conscious about the use of its time and its energy. So that's a part of King of Spades person. 7 of Spades, that's the decline, when the tree starts to decline. So and that makes them good at dealing and overcoming that emotion to being on decline. And then as 9, they work as a hermit, it's a dying, the tarot card comes later. It's the dying tree on the ground, giving up everything. So that's the surrender aspect of it. And it's strongest in the 9. It's both a 7, an 8, and a 9, but it's strongest in the 9. So the 9 of spades on the Pluto card is also a big part of who they are, as a birth card. Surrender. Okay. So if you want to see what happens if I surrender, how does life, what are the rules, then you study the King of Spades spread, but also the 9 of Spades spread, which is the tree who gives up everything, right? It's lying on the ground. Tarot wise, it's a 7 of it's as a 7 it acts as the falling tower, so that makes it good to deal with difficult things. For example, my wife is a natural healer and very, very good at healing people. In 8, it's the Chariot coming back in triumphantly, so there is a triumphant aspect to it, which relates a lot to the nature symbol, the dying tree. How is that triumphant? Well, it does it in their way, right? So 8 is the big card of, especially 8 of spades. It's like, I do it my way, and that's a very triumphant song, right? They do it their way. And then in 9 is the Hermit, wanting to resolve things in life alone. So they're hermits. If you live with a King of Spades, as I am and have done before for a long time, you have to give them their space, for sure. They also have a 9 of clubs here, which is also hermit. The black 9s are hermit cards, right? So they need, actually my wife told me the other day, a couple of weeks ago, that it had to be you, because I'm a King of clubs. Very flattering for me, but what she meant was, it was in the context of her, it has to be you that is my partner, right? And what she meant was that I give her space, because as a 5 of clubs I can do that. I have 2 kings, this is 5 of clubs, and after this, on the ecliptic and the Uranus, we have 5. We have kings. We have death card 7. We have hermit cards. So, and I have to practice being alone. This is my Rahu card. So, if you are going to befriend or live with, marry a King of Spades, you must give them spades. Spades. You have to space. Okay. Underlying, overlying card, there aren't any. So that means that this is not an experience that they're going to learn from, right? Or we don't learn from King of Spades. It's more a stamp that this is like the strongest card. When a King of Spades show up on your birth spread, something is going to change permanently that life. I have it on my K2 card this year. So this is the year for me where I have to overcome my K2 things, which is the 5th house, which is creativity and so on. And it's like K2 position is where we connect to God the most. So and it's basically where we really become. It's Dharma, where we overcome when we get real. So this is my big year of becoming real, having King of Spades there. Why do I say that? I don't know, because I'm speaking too much. No, because King of Spades is it doesn't have an underlying and overlying card. It's a fixed card, a cardinal card. So it's going to impose itself to the spread or wherever it shows up. You don't bargain with King of Spades, And then the King of Spades person, for sure. Sometimes you have to bargain with them, of course. They are human after all. But it's not that easy. And if they are very developed, you should just listen and learn from them. Like my wife, she's. You may think I'm a simp or someone who doesn't have a voice of my own. I have. but she's so darn right all the time, you know. So I can just, I mean, I'm not supposed to do this, and I don't, but I have keep a good position. But I've learned that she's almost, in most cases, she's absolutely right, and I'm absolutely wrong. Okay. And the planet is Pluto. I think yeah, okay, the numerology. You want to jump in, and I want to jump in the card, but I have to say a little about the numbers. Because King is 13, right? So 1 plus 3 is 4. So already there we see there is a stability around this card, right? It's going to create a new reality. Like Arjuna, who went to the war. Now that's his new reality. Okay? And also 13, if we sum up all the numbers leading up to 13, it will sum up to 91. Like 1 plus 2 plus 3 up to 13, it ends up in 91. 9 plus 1 is 10. So that, no, yes it is. So that's the Mercury card actually. So it's within their card, you know. We see this capacity for dealing with spades in any kind, like being a new person, or accepting loss, or being stable, or grow really fast, or being on top of your, I mean, anything spade they can do. It's both the Mercury card and it's within themselves, since 13 square sums up to 91. So that's a 10. Then 10 is also an ace, because 1 plus 0 it's a 1, right? 1 plus 0 is 1. So that means that they're very strong in this newborn capacity, which is what this spread is all about. I told you about the calves coming out and discovering a complete new world. And they tend to be like, you know, calves coming out in spring. It's so funny that the spring is this mechanical thing that impulses you. They come up like from a spring, and then at the springtime, right? And they're just like that. At least my wife and my ex-wife too. Such a capacity for happiness. So there is a newness in this 1. Also, if we take this 4 that we, what's the word for it? Extracted recently. You know, if we sum up 1, 2, 3, 4, we also get a 10 and a 1. So it's within that 4 that we derived from 13. Do you remember? 2. And if we square the 4, it's 16. 1 plus 6 is 7. And 7 is about endings. And within the 7 there is a 1. When you close the door, another door closes. And it's getting complicated, so I'm not going to... There is a 4 in a 1 within a 7. But let's check it out. It is. So 1, 4, and 7 are important numbers. And then we have 13 for King of Spades. Then we have 13 squared, which is 169, so that's 16, and that's another 7. Okay, so we have 2 7s. We arrive at 7 from 2. So this is about 1, it's about 4, and it's about 7. So it's about newness, a stability, and something that is destroyed. And there is a cycle going on. Okay? And that's important, because it tells us what King of Spades is here to do. It's here to go through those cycles of newness, stability, and destruction. Okay, in 7, I have to mention this, explain this then. In 7 there is a 1 and a 4, because 7, if you sum up every number up to 7, it sums up to 28. 2 plus 8 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. So it all comes back to a 1 at the end. This newness. Okay? Like Arjuna, who was I mean, maybe he would have killed himself to get away, you know? Or how could he act in an honorable way? A kshatriya who doesn't fight, how maybe he would have to do like the samurais. But he got this second chance to be a hero. So that's what King of Spades is all about. It's about second chances. It's about being newborn. And since I have been speaking so much about the newness of this card, I'm gonna start with Ace of Spades, because it's in the Saturn position, and it's a very, very sweet position. I mean, it's Saturn takes away things from us, right? Like, don't waste energy doing that thing. It's Saturn. It's like when your school teacher come in and say, "Yeah, kids, it's time to stop drawing. Put the Crayolas, or whatever you call them, back in their place, because we're going to learn something new." It's exactly like that. Saturn is only saying, don't bother about being new, you know. Don't put energy in trying to invent yourself. Just flow with who you are. They can really be authentic. They don't have to bother about a new version of themselves, because they are, you know, they are a new version of themselves. We spoke about the oneness within the King spread. And then there is oneness in the Mercury card, which is all about strategy, how we play the game. And 1 plus 0 is a 1, okay? So don't worry about being new, because it's flowing through them. They are new in every moment. And that's Dharma, right? That is Dharma. That is Dharma, to be new in every moment. And without having a clue who you were yesterday or 5 minutes ago. I mean, it really doesn't matter. If you have an idea of who you used to be, then you're stuck in the past, right? If you live in the moment, as we are supposed to do, living our Dharma fully, you don't even have a name, right? You don't have an identity. Maybe you don't have a gender. You don't have an ideology, you know? Everything that you are out of the window, and you are new in every second. So the last thing King of Spades has to deal with is, am I new enough? You know, is this my best new version? Fuck that, I don't need it. So Saturn is not doing anything. It's just said, you know, don't worry about being new, and they're going to be new constantly, like a newborn kid, a newborn child. And therefore I'm going to read this spread in a little different way, different order, because since we are speaking about the child and being newborn, I'm coming back to the Mercury card, okay? But let's just speak about the ace, the one aspect of this card first. Well, Jack of Hearts on the Uranus card is the child card, you know. It's the card of innocence. And this explains everything, how this card works. Because this is Shiva, you know, this is the destructive force. And normally you can't live as a destructive force. We can't be a soldier, a killing machine all life through, right? It's going to destroy us. If we kill, the reason for killing gets away from us. The reason must be, or if we destroy, to protect something valuable. It has to be related to something innocent. A warrior is supposed to defend. A hero in Greece comes from the root of compassion, you know. You become a hero, you kill people to defend the innocent. And most of us can't do it just for a short time. But a soldier who stays at the front, on the front line, they're going to be very cynical, like a surgeon too. Oftentimes they become very cynical, right? But the King of Spades does not, because they have the innocent card on the Uranus card. And this is where we shine the most, in the Uranus card. This is like the inner child. It's a child position. This is a jack position. Jack is an 11. So 1, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So a jack in a jack position, that's a very strong card. And then it's another fixed card, just like the spades, the king of spades, which also makes it stronger. And it's a dressed up card, a face card, and they are stronger, you know. So this is like the strongest position there is in any spread, except for king of spades here, which is equally strong. Another fixed card in its own position, and a face card. But that's another spread. Right now I don't remember which spread it is. But this is like the strongest position there is. And it's all about innocence. So I relate them, because they showed up in our life, in our altar that we have and so on, to Saint Michael, Archangel Michael, and Archangel Gabriel. And I think I spoke about that already. So wherever Archangel Michael goes around with his sword, Archangel Gabriel is a few steps behind or aside, shedding light over it, right? And that's why these people can be so innocent and so nice, you know. And look at this. This is just so astonishing. This is their year spread. Okay. To go back to, can you see? This is the year spread. It's all in Jack of Hearts, because it's a fixed card, you know. It's a fixed card in a fixed card spread. So this is the only place in every card, which should tell us how important this card is. No other card has. This doesn't happen to any other card, only King of Spades. And what is happening is that Jack of Hearts, the card of innocence, of being a child, of Kartikeya maybe in the mythology, Skanda, the son of Shiva and Parvati, who represents the 7 days old child, who is the general of the divine army. He shows up every year. You are never going to have, in the Uranus card, you are never going to have a Jack of Hearts in your Uranus card. Me neither, unless you are a King of Spades. They have all of them. Why? Because they need it. Because carrying the Shiva energy obliges them to have the opposite energy, the energy of innocence, the destructive force and the creative force, the innocent force. Because again, if you're going to defend the innocent, the innocence must be there, you know. So it's a tough spread to be carrying basically the force of destruction in your spread, right? But then you have this wonderful, wonderful Jack of Hearts energy. So oftentimes that's the energy that is going to shine through. And sure, there might be egotistical and hard. Now we can't see all this. What happens here? Adjusting here. I'm working into a program, Kala, and two programs at the same time. I didn't like this, but okay, you can see it at least. Yeah, let's leave it like this for. Oh wait, can I take a pause and adjust it? I will. Yeah, I hope I have fixed this issue here now, so that you can see it. Speaking Swinglish here. Let's see. Okay, where was I? Now I missed. Okay, so Jack of Hearts. So there is an incredible, a healthy King of Spades is the nicest person, you know. Very fun, very authentic, like a child. Really, there is a very childish aspect to them. Just like the calf, the coming out of the winter stable that I was telling you about. That is confirmed. So that's how we are supposed to be, right? Again, this is not only about King of Spades person. This is about what is supposed to happen when we surrender to Dharma. Well, we are supposed to be new in every moment, every second of life. Not caring about that, because it's a natural thing that flows out of us. So this is a 1 in a way. I'm going to come back and speak about the 10ness, that after all it's a 10. Can't deny that or ignore it. But it's also a 1. And this is a 1, 2 and 3, but it's strongest in 1. So new, heartfelt, new 1 Ace of Spades. We're going to talk about that soon. Next spread is all about an openness in heart, you know. Having not a curious mind, an heartfelt connection to life. And of course, that's the first thing that happens when we are bereft of our ideas and ideals and you know, mind stuff that has been bothering us for such a long time. No, you were wrong about that thing all your life, you know, that you defended. You think it has to be like this, unless it's unfair. No, you don't know. You don't have the perspective, you know. Why did that person have to suffer? Because he chose to suffer in this lifetime. Because it's payback time, you know. He wants to pay what he done in previous lifetimes, you know. And no one is punishing him or her for that suffering. They chose it probably before coming here, because there's I really want to make an advance in spiritual struggle. So I want to pay what I'm guilty, what I owe, basically. And that's all there is to it. There's no punishment when bad stuff happens. So when we manage to let go of this idea, but this is such a cruel world and everything, God is mean almost, right? Or life is, imagine getting rid of that. Then you come out with such a newness. You're being washed. Your eyes are washed. Everything is new, as we can see from this spread. So every year this card rules the innermost. That's where they shine the most. It's the innermost part of a King of Spades is Jack of Hearts. So in the heart of Shiva lives Kartikeya Skanda. In the heart of Archangel Michael lives Saint Gabriel, right? And then we have another ace on the moon card. So that's a new idea, which comes out of 2 of hearts as the underlying card. So it comes out of this capacity for connectiveness that they have. And I have to be careful with talking about underlying and overlying cards here. So, but you know, all their underlying card are a hearts card. So it all comes from connection, emotional connection. So again, it's like someone who is seeing life for the first time and is connecting to it. And out of that experience comes Ace of Clubs, which is inspiration, a new idea. Let's do it this way. Hey, I just came up with something. And the position with the moon on the moon card is effortless. It just comes naturally to them, you know. This is like the feminine part. So they're really, really fun people and very good at coming up with, let's try something new. So everything is new about these people. They are like the oldest and the newest at the same time. Like people who have lived for a long torturous time, and now they have... Imagine Mandela coming out after 27 years in prison and having been really humble. He's a fantastic example of this experience, right? Because he went through exactly that. He had to he fought himself. He had to learn to forgive. Life didn't allow him to keep a grudge. If he wanted to save his soul and his life and his whole country, he had to forgive his prison, those who keep him in prison, whatever you call them. Imagine coming out after 27 years in prison. Well, that's a King of Spades experience that we are talking about. So, a leaf of grass you're going to connect it, and you're going to be so inspired to write a poem about a leaf of grass that most people don't even notice, So there is a newness also in the thoughts. They come up with something new. Back to... So those are the ones. I was speaking about the oneness of this card. Okay. And I still have to come back to the Mercury card, but I will keep on the track of oneness, newness. So now we have to speak about new on the first card. And that is, since it's a one card, right? And it's the Sun card, 3 of Hearts. And that's a convoluted card that I should probably write a book about. It's very dual. It can go two way. Sure, it's breaking up from relationships. 3 is like flying away, breaking up. So this is a breakup card, and that seems to make it very hard to have a King of Spades partner. And for sure, it may manifest that way. That like a bumblebee who wants to try a little here, a little there, basically not being faithful. Sure, it has that potential. But it's also expansion in emotion. It wants to become a 9. 3 squared is 9. And it wants to become a 6. 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6. And 6 is the highest number for worldly connection. So 6 is happy family, happy marriage. So it strives for that. And 9 is even higher. That's like crazy in love. That's being completely lost in love. Okay, 9 is the divine. It's the universal number. It's basically what moksha, liberation, is about, right? When there is no differentiation, we overcome the idea of separate existence, the idea that we live separate from God or from the divine. In 9 of Hearts, we overcome that. So now there is no up and no down, and we are just crazy in love, basically. So that's what this card wants to become. The best spouse in 6. And the best, just being spirit, being love, becoming love. So this is also the card for devotion. So it may come out in not only in this position, in any position, in like an unfaithful way, but actually I think it's more common, or at least to my experience, that it's an indication for a very devoted person, devoted to the relationship. But then there is a detachment. In any case, there is a detachment. 3 is about detachment. Because if you are really devoted to something, a devotee of Ganesha or Virgencita de Guadalupe, since I'm in Mexico, or Durga or Sri Lakshmi, it doesn't matter, You choose one, you choose your favorite. Choose Batman. No, I like Wolverine better, or Captain America. It doesn't matter, actually. It's not that personal. So, when a person is devoted to you, it's not that much about you. You're more like a screen, like a placeholder for that person's devotion. Why? Because when this becomes a 9, when they reach the goal of their devotion, it flips over, and there are no I mean, what's the word for it? There is no differentiation. Like, was it Ganesha or was it Durga? I mean, it really doesn't matter, because it's all divinity. So this is another sign for detachment, much like 9. These hermit cards. They have a strong hermit side. They need space, and there is a detachment. So being the spouse of a king of spades, it's not for everyone, because you have to have that detachment. We have been, my and my wife, we have been away from each other for months. Life has obliged us to be away from one time 3 months and one time 4.5 months, and actually it turned out to be a fantastic experience for both of us, because we needed it for our, even for to feel safe about knowing that the other person is not clingy, the other person is not dependent on us. We want to be codependent in that way. So this is not a card that is very prone to codependence. With that said, my wife spoke about the other day about her not carrying her siblings anymore. She's 48 now, and she feels that she has been carrying her siblings too much, and now she has let them go. They had a conflict and she let them go in love, And she said, I don't understand what I thought, that I should help them in some way. They must deal with their own problems, So even though she's a king of spades, for sure there was codependence, and much more when she was younger. But that is a theme that king of spades and king in general, or king in any position, is supposed to grow out of. The more there is almost only, in most cases, there is some codependence involved with kings. But again, she's 48, and that's exactly the age where she has the chance, to maturation, where she can fully let go of her codependency. So that's a big theme for King of Spades. Okay. There is no jealousy. My wife and my ex-wife are 2 King of Spades, and they have gotten well along from the first moment since I presented them to each other. And there is a child involved, my child with my ex, and I have never felt or experienced any jealousy at all. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, because not all King of Spades are developed people, but a developed King of Spades, or a decently developed King of Spades, no jealousy whatsoever. So they don't play these games, I look funny here with my covered. They don't play stupid, like these relationship games. Don't expect them to beyond that. You can't lure them into these kind of games. It's something that you like to do, right? Okay, so how long should I stay, or should I go? 1 hour 3 minutes. I think we're gonna finish this reading once and for all. Just one take, even if it's gonna be long. But it's the most important card, I would say. One of them at least. Then we have, let's go back to the Mercury card, since I left off. I didn't do this. I just did the Ace of Spades part of the 10, right? Again, it's an ace. It's a 1, because 1 plus 0 is 1. But then it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 10 is the whole fan of spades, which meaning that they can deal with life with themselves, especially. This is not using tools or using philosophy. This is just grit and patience and all of those, your own capacity for dealing with life and being alone, suffering. That capacity is expressed here. And on Mercury position, sure, that's how they see life. They see life as a challenge. and they are very good at meeting this challenge. This is the nightmare card, traditionally speaking, where if this shows up in a concrete card casting, well, this is going to be a tough year, a lot of testing going on here, for sure. But they have them in the Mercury position, so they have a natural. It indicates a natural skill of dealing with problems. So even if they are really new, this isn't fair. They are very experienced, They have a fantastic. It is fair, of course, because they have good karma. You have to have a good karma, I guess, to be born with King of Spades. Because they have this extreme capacity for dealing with life through themselves, like dealing with themselves. So my wife, she does this, something bad happens, and she's in a really bad mood, and like in 5 minutes, oftentimes, or in a very short time, she has adjusted to it. She accepts it, she swallows that bad experience, get the poison out of her system, and she's back, And as a natural healer in Mexico, and I can tell you that many people are trying to. There's so much witchcraft going on, And she has been severely attacked many times, but she always finds the way to endure that attack. So, and again, it's almost unfair, although it's not, of course, because then all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, they all indicates an incredible capacity for dealing with life. Like MacGyver, for those of you who don't remember, Google MacGyver, but I guess he's quite famous, right? This television character who always ended up in bad situation. That's like having 5 of Spades on the ecliptic card. We're coming back to that. He's always being challenged, on the verge of dying, obviously, and he always find a very far-fetched solution to the problem. So that's being a MacGyver, right? And that's what they are. We already spoke about getting a new idea and being on top of the self, being capable of suffering and enduring and patience and all that stuff. Gaining health, that's Ace of Spades, like being newborn. So regaining and overcome intoxication, that could be, right? That kind of growing back a limb, basically, almost. And then we have those other clubs. Where should I start? 5 of clubs. A 5 in the 5th position. It's 5 of clubs is finding the truth, and in this position, it's just natural. It just flows. So they have it's an indication of they're very intelligent in a street smart way. They find the best method effortlessly. If there is a method already developed that they don't have to develop themselves, like my wife, she has come up with her own methods in natural healing, and she even invented a combination of herbs that actually makes people lose weight. It's a working weight loss medicine. No big deal. It's just one day I got this idea in my head and it works. But then if there is a method already worked out, or a philosophy and so on, a system of thought, or basically truth, they have such an easy time to understand, to connect to that, because a 5 on a 5 just comes naturally to them, So because I'm not going into underlying card now, but that's how it works. A 5 and a 5, natural flow in clubs, in the methods, the philosophy, easy time learning stuff. But then they learn something and they don't want to keep it. This is the position Mars card, where we fly away from something. So once we've got it, we abandon it. So they are extremely non-dogmatic people, because they just got that degree, like Queen of Clubs. It's like Long-term commitment to one way of thinking, one method of doing things. Well, no, they just threw it away. So they cannot be nailed down in a boring job where you have to do the same task every day. My wife, the natural healer, she's reinventing herself and her methods of working like every day. You know, one day she's an acupuncturist, and one day she's doing something completely else. And she has a very broad toolbox because she would be very bored doing the same thing. They don't want to repeat themselves. They always want to find a new way of doing stuff. And sure, they read the instruction, the manual, and they learn the right way of doing it, but they just threw it away, you know. They must do it their own way. And that's quite intelligent too, right? But read it, burn it. So again, I do it my way. When did I say that? I do it my way. Well, this is an I do it my way card. I don't even remember where that song came in. But they certainly do it their own way. Okay. Trying to remember why I sang that song. Doesn't matter. And then the Venus card. Well, you know, that too? Yeah, they are extremely broad, you know. They're intelligent, and they are gritty and patient and everything that. And then they have this connection to energy, you know. This is Donald Trump card. Donald Trump is a 3 of diamond, and you can say what you want about Donald Trump. You may like him or not, but he's very, very good at manipulate like the energy. So 3 of diamonds. My wife is psychic. That's not expected, but 3 of diamonds, sure. But for sure, 3 of diamonds can give that, you know. She's a natural card healer, a card reader. She was never taught about cards, the Spanish deck. She picked up a deck once when she was bored in a hotel and she knew how to lay them out because she had seen it being done. And then she started realizing, hey, I can read this, you know. And she's a very competent card reader because she has this connection, intuitive connection. So as a herbalist or a natural healer, well, she connects to the disease, she connects to the body, she connects to the energy, you know, and she connects to the herbs, and she connects to the stone, like in a mystic, in an energetic way. And my ex-wife, she's a wedding photographer, so this can be a photographer because it's about energy, you know, to see that instant or that flash, and that flash of karma, you know. Actresses, actors, feng shui is one possibility. You know, when you have to understand this thing, I have this strongly, and I'm not very practical, and I just screwed up I managed to swift the polarity in starting a car. Can you believe it? That kind of stupid things tend to happen to 3 of diamond. Yeah, I'm gonna blame 3 of diamond for that, because oftentimes people with a strong 3 of diamond see like what other people, not every people see. Good with colors, color combinations, what material go together, you know, that kind of stuff. So they have this going for them too, you know. They can, not only are they good thinkers and good at inventors, but also they are like intuitive, complete package. So they are extremely good at resolving problems. What more? Yeah, and then their evolutionary path, because of course they have an evolutionary path. Like Saturn is a freebie. Don't waste energy trying to be new. No, because they don't have to at all, you know. So Saturn comes very effortlessly to them. Pluto comes very effortlessly to them. A 9 in King of Pluto, it's extremely, they're being corrected by life, but in a very nice, soft way. You know, the brothers of my wife, they were punished with a belt, you know, of the father, and she was too. But she went there. She realized, she's smart, that the brothers suffered a lot. So she would rather asking for, when her time came up to be punished, she presented herself, and his father was like, he didn't know what to do with that, so she wasn't severely punished as her brothers. And that's an image of how Pluto works. Yeah, they have 9 of spades here, but it's actually very, very gentle. They're being treated gently by Saturn and by Pluto. They are being treated as the innocent child that they in many ways are, if they allow themselves to be it. And the more they give up their ego, the more they surrender, the more they go to the Father and say, yeah, Father, I see that you want to punish me. Here I am, in a humble way, in a brave way too, the less they're going to be punished. And the more they're going to shine in their innocence. Okay? So Saturn is for free. Pluto isn't for free, but not far from it. It's not that hard on them as most of us. And then the Rahu card. When my wife turned 42, she got into her Rahu maturation. Her daughters went to see the father, who lived in another way of Mexico, another state very far away, almost on the border to the States, United States, and we live in the south. And they were kept there. Well, the older of them actually wanted to stay with his father, but it was never spoken about that. It was a betrayal, crude betrayal of the father of the girls. And the younger one, they were 12 and 13, I think, when this happened. I think around 12, 13. She didn't want to go even, She said, Mom, I don't want to go. You have to, but you will be back soon. And then her father kept her there, so she was basically abducted, So she was really challenged in her Rahu card, 7 of Hearts, which is all about giving up relationship, accepting losses. She had to accept basically losing her children. She went there to see them last year when they had turned 18, because she could have been laws and stuff. She didn't dare to show up before, but she went there last year and reconnected. And the younger of the girls came back in a really bad state. She came back. She's fine now. She's laughing in the room behind me all night. She's speaking to her friend. But that was really, really hard on my wife, having to overcome not seeing her daughters, her only daughters, for years, and the betrayal. I mean, the older daughter betrayed her. The younger was led, but the whole family north, they betrayed her and even wanted to have money from her and everything, But she did it. She overcome it. To overcome dependency is what Rahu is about in this position. Rahu. And finding balance in loss. Yeah, overcome dependency. Because 7 here, this is a balancing card. It's an equilibrium card where we have to be perfectly fine between within ourselves and the outer world. So that after that can take an even further step into spirituality, into divinity. So this is where we establish a perfect balance between ourselves and the outer world. So here we have to pay all our fee, or all our what we owe to other people from other lifetimes. This is like the balancing spot. We can't be liberated. The reason we are on earth is Rahu, right? As Ernst teaches us. It's because here we pay for our karma, bad karma, and gain balance. And when we are perfectly balanced in any way, and also emotionally, we are free to be. We are ready to for moksha, or that is moksha, right? So letting go of. Oh, and I want to look at the overlying card. Next video, it's going to be so interesting. Letting go of anything emotional, any connection, any detachment. And the mother of my sons, when she was 42, turned 42, her oldest son went to Sweden. She lives in Mexico. She's from Chile. She doesn't have much family, and she has no family at all in Mexico. So he went to Sweden to live with his grandparents, and she was fine with that, but it's still a hard experience. And then 2 years later, or 3 years later, when Rahu got mature, our youngest son went to Sweden too, away from her, where she once in a while visits them, but not that often. So she was tested in a very similar way as my wife. Not being my wife, she was tested the same way as my wife was tested. Okay. Yeah, she was probably tested as my wife too, although we were never married, but yeah, sure. And then Rahu and Ketu, this is where we connect to divinity. This is our personal oasis, our personal paradise, when we can just grow into that experience. Both these cards in the tarot card, red sevens, are seen as mirrored in the death card. So there is a death aspect to this. Also, my wife's father died in this period of Rahu maturation. And she was very attached to, very much, he was very dear to her. And yeah, my wife lost her parents, but not in this age. My ex. Okay, so this is the other death card. So this is about giving up, earth. This is earth. Diamond is earth. It's value. And 7 doesn't work anymore, It's we're losing here. But look at the underlying card. We're growing into next video. We're growing into what this card wants. 3 of hearts wants to be a 9 of hearts, Well, 7 of diamonds grows into 9 of hearts. This is like giving up earth. Really. This word doesn't, I don't understand anything. It doesn't work. I don't find the value in it. I don't find the value in this thing that I used to be attached to. And it's also very much about living in the moment, because it's a death card. So these cards give them a deep sense of death, or of like like a butterfly. The other day I was doing this video. There was a moth shown up here, and I was so happy because it's a manifestation. A moth is a manifestation of King of Hearts, because it's about death, and it's about humility, and it's about transformation, and it's about seeking the light. So that was one of these omens that shows me that probably Krishna is helping me driving this chariot here for a while. I said chart all the time. Chariot. It's the word for it. Sorry. Okay. Drive your chart. Oh, fuck. Chariot. But okay. That's my level of English. 7 of diamonds. Living in the moment, living to the fullest. And giving up, basically giving up. It's not 9 of diamonds. It's not giving up earth for completely, but it's about accepting that the limitations of earth, right? This is fully acceptance, and being very happy accepting. Oh, that old trick, it's just good old earth. I see. So this is like a matrix card, where we start seeing through the Maya. We're still here. Okay, it's not 9 of diamonds, not a complete breakdown, but we're starting to see through Maya with 7 of diamond in certain positions, especially in Ketu position. So this is a very spiritual position. And again, it becomes a 9 of hearts. It basically is a 9 of hearts. In a way, it's the same card, you know. Those semi-fixed cards. So universal love. So how are they not going to be happy? King of Spades. And then 5 of Spades on the ecliptic card. Oh, that's very easy. That's being tested, being challenged by life. This is Tom Cruise's birth card. So, you know, running for your life. And that's it. They are going to be tested. And I decided not to tell many of the stories about my wife and my ex-wives. A little for privacy, but also because, I mean, this video is already so long. But there are good stories about them being challenged by life and not being bothered, not being rattled very much. Like my ex-wife, she doesn't know about fear. She liked, we lived through one of the biggest earthquakes ever registered back in 2010 in Chile, and she thought it was a funny, like, interesting experience. 4.5 minutes, 8.4 on the scale. Actually, me too, but I have a very similar card to King of Spades. And then she liked the replicas, what do you call them? The after, you know, the after quakes. Oh, those were fun to her. Yeah. But again, I'm not going to tell you much about my wife's lives, my wife and my ex. But they're going to be tested for sure, every King of Spades. But then they are very, very much equipped to deal with it. Okay. And even having this wonderful innocence that always give them back hope, you know. If they have to go through hardship, dealing with any hardship, I mean, this is innocence, you know, it's going to give them back hope. Extremely easy time to come back. I'm a 5 of clubs, so I'm a comeback king, but that's just, I mean, nothing compared to King of Spades, I'd say. And then 9 of clubs, finally, right at the end. Neptune card is what we connect to the most, like how we envision how life could be. And this is actually high ideals, like a perfect word in a way, or perfect ideas about the word, like the idealist, most idealistic card. And for example, I'm a 5 of clubs, so that's my Saturn card. I'm not allowed to do that. Like, let the word rules itself. It's like Arjuna, right? Arjuna having a fixed idea. You shall not fight war against your own people, against your own teachers, against your own. That I know that for sure. You know, that's my ideal. And having it, he was probably a 5 of clubs, I would guess, because Saturn comes in my case, 5 of clubs here, Saturn comes in, forget about it, you don't know shit, you know? You don't know shit. Let the word, you know, let Krishna rule the show. Give up your effing ideas about how the word should and shouldn't work. So I'm, as a 5 of clubs, I'm not allowed to have that. And as Arjuna, actually, I think Arjuna must have been a 5 of clubs because he was a truth seeker, right? Anyway, the truth seeker experience is like that. We seek the truth in 5 of clubs. And Saturn say, yeah, and forget about you knowing shit about the word and how it should work. But King of Spades, in their newness, they are allowed to connect to ideals. Okay? Because they don't get dogmatic. There's no way they can get dogmatic because they have this thing with Pluto going on. So they are free to explore Nine of clubs. Which is, it so easily turns to the most arrogant card because it knows how things should be. In my case, five of clubs, we can be extremely dogmatic, especially when young, because we know. No. But King of Spades come here with this feeling of, I actually don't know. Oh, so this is how it should work. So they relate to idealism and are very interested in resolving the problems of the world and so on. And I'm gonna finish. I just think it's a funny thing to tell. As a five of clubs, I have six of hearts here. A six of hearts, as I told you before, is like happy marriage, happy family. So that's where I connect the most. This is the connection card where I really feel as me, right? As how I should be in the world and how the world should be. And so happy marriage. So I end up with my wife sitting in the bed at after 7 or so o'clock at night, and she's reading stuff, nine of clubs, informing herself about 1 million things about religion and medicine and everything. Really interested in the word and how it works. And I am happy just sitting there. I am not allowed, even by my Saturn, to get too deeply into that. I shouldn't read so much about the war in Ukraine and things going on in the world, right? It's not I'm not allowed to. So I try not to. And then I make foot massage on my wife. And that's six of hearts, right? Like, I'm so happy with my wifey. So that's how a five of clubs and jack of hearts and king of spades work together. Those cards are really meant to be, as you can see. Five of clubs on the Jupiter card. If it's a female king of spades, then the Jupiter card is an indication for spouse, which in this case happens to me twice. Even a third time once I went out with a king of spades, woman. But that didn't result in anything longer. But out of my 3 long relationships, 2 have been king of spades. Okay? So I have the faith of being a spouse to king of spades, it seems, by being a five of clubs. But also their Uranus card is jack of hearts, and that is my Venus card. So they is my ideal woman too, So there is a double attraction between these cards, which is hard to get away from. And why do I mention it? Well, I think maybe I'm just being egocentric, but I think it's interesting to see how first, structurally wise, how they work together, right? These 2 cards, how they call for each other, but then realize that the five of clubs is the card that seeks the truth for excellence. This is the little leaf who turns around its own, I'm trying to show my hand there. It's changing its position, so it's always towards the sun. So it always seeks for the sun, that is truth, right? And therefore it's interesting to see that it's so related to king of spades. So if this is the truth seeker, the seeker of truth, well, it seems that king of spades is the truth. It's the pathway to dharma, to moksha, to liberation. Wow. If you want to see a movie on this theme and learn more about it, there is a five of clubs director, Lars von Trier, a Dane. He made a movie like 25 years ago or so with in the leading role was Nicole Kidman, probably her best role. I haven't seen all of her movies, but she's very good there. It's called Dogville, and it leads up to one of these moments where you really have to question your your capacity for 9 of clubs, for knowing what's right to do and what's not right to do, just like Arjuna, right? You are so sure that this is the right thing to do, and it's all, and then spoiling a little, then at the end, like, Shiva comes in and just puts us, or the person, the hero or female hero, in place. And I think it's a wonderful movie to understand how this works. Dogville with Nicole Kidman of Lars von Trier. It's a bit slow in the beginning, but it gets really good. It's one of the best movies. So, thank you for your time, those of you who have endured until now. Let's see, 1 hour 35 minutes. Wow, not that bad for such an important spread. Thank you.